Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share with you. So let's begin. I first noticed something was off when Danielle pushed our dinner reservation, again, because her Hive group was doing a last-minute debrief mixer at some rooftop bar in Midtown. I was standing in our kitchen holding a bottle of wine I'd picked up after work, and she walked in already changing into something dress code appropriate. Like she'd planned it before even telling me. My name's Mark. I'm 28 years old, living in Sacramento, California. Danielle and I had been together 2 years. 6 months ago, we signed a lease on a two-bedroom condo just outside downtown. Everything split down the middle: groceries, rent, internet. Even the couch was a 50-50 decision at Living Spaces. She worked in corporate real estate, which meant long hours and late-night emails. But that wasn't the issue. The issue was the Hive. That's what her firm called its internal mentorship program. Part leadership incubator, part networking cult. I'm not exaggerating. These people met more often than some families. Quick note: before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. There was always a Hive thing. Hive mixers. Hive brunches. Hive yoga. One weekend, it was a leadership vision boarding retreat in Tahoe, and another was a peer accountability escape in Santa Cruz. If I suggested a weekend getaway, she'd blink and go, "That's the Hive Coaching Summit weekend." If I brought up visiting my parents, "Oh, that's the same weekend as Hive's Finance Roundtable." After a while, I stopped asking. I knew what the answer would be. She wasn't mean about it. Not directly. She'd just reschedule everything I planned until the only time we had left was squeezed between her Hive calls and travel. And if those got extended, which they always did, my stuff quietly vanished from the calendar. At first I told myself I was just being needy. She was building her career. That took hustle, right? But it kept happening. Over and over. Birthday dinners? Postponed. Friend's wedding? She skipped. Even when we were in the same room, she'd be on her phone in Hive Slack or sending off recap emails to her mentor group. I started realizing it wasn't just about her being busy. It was like the Hive had become a permanent third person in our relationship. Always watching. Always demanding. And the weirdest part? She lit up around them in a way I hadn't seen in months with me. One night, I asked if she wanted to watch a movie together, just relax. She nodded, sat next to me, and 5 minutes in, she was on her laptop messaging Hive West Coast about weekend logistics. I stared at the screen, not really seeing anything. I wasn't angry yet, just off. Like something important had shifted, and I couldn't name it. She didn't notice. "Don't forget to switch the laundry," she said, eyes still on her screen. I stood up and walked to the hallway without saying anything. I switched the laundry. Then I made dinner. Danielle barely looked up until I asked if she wanted garlic bread or not. She said she wasn't hungry, just tired. The next day, I put in the reservation anyway. It was the same place we'd gone for brunch the morning after our first night together. Some little place near Land Park with cheap mimosas and bomb French toast. I even got tickets to the art exhibit she'd mentioned last month, the one downtown with those weird interactive light rooms. She'd sent me the link, said it looked cool. I figured it'd be the one day we could both shut out work and just be together. No Hive. No calendars. Just us. That night, she came home with her blazer slung over one shoulder and those heels she always complained about still on her feet. "Hey," I said, meeting her at the kitchen counter. "Got something for you." She set down her bag. "What's up?" I handed her the little card I'd printed. Just something simple with the reservation details and a note about the exhibit. Her face didn't light up. She just stood there, reading it like it was a bill. "That weekend," she started, her mouth tightening. "That's the Tahoe Gala. Hive Regional. You know, I told you about this." "No," I said. "You mentioned Tahoe. You didn't say it was the exact weekend of our anniversary." She sighed like I was already being difficult. "It's not just Tahoe. It's the biggest event of the year. Everyone from the West Coast's gonna be there. My boss, upper leadership, the new advisory chair. It's non-negotiable." "Okay," I said, trying to stay calm. "Could you skip it this once? Or maybe join virtually for part of it?" She stared at me like I'd just asked her to quit her job. "No, Mark. I can't skip it. That's not how this works. I'm not some intern. I've got responsibilities. I'm leading the logistics subcommittee. My mentee's presenting for the first time, and I promised I'd be there. This is my career. These things matter." Her voice wasn't raised, but it was clipped. Final. Like we weren't even having a conversation. "So our anniversary doesn't matter?" I asked. She crossed her arms. That's not what I said. You kind of did. I said this event is important, and it only happens twice a year. Our anniversary, we can celebrate it another weekend. No, I said, that's not how this works. You can't keep shoving everything we do into leftover space. She looked genuinely confused. I'm not shoving anything. You're being inflexible. I laughed once. Inflexible? I planned something. You're the one saying no. Again. Danielle turned away like she was done with the conversation, like she had emails to send, and this was a distraction. Why are you making this a thing? She asked, not looking at me. You know how hard I've worked. I've told you from the beginning this program is a major part of my growth. Yeah, I said, and I've supported that every step of the way. But apparently supporting you just means shutting up and clapping from the sidelines. She looked over her shoulder, frowning. You're acting threatened by a successful woman. That one hit. I clenched my jaw. Don't do that. Don't turn this into some feminism TED talk. This isn't about your success. It's about how I never get picked. She opened the fridge and grabbed a bottle of water. You're being dramatic. I planned one night. 2 hours. Something we both used to care about. You couldn't even pretend to consider it. She unscrewed the cap and took a sip. Calm. Detached. I have a future to build, Mark, she said. This is that future. I'm not going to apologize for prioritizing it. That was the moment. That exact sentence. Like a door slamming shut in my head. There wasn't even a pause for me in that future. Not unless the Hive gave her permission first. She walked out of the kitchen, bottle in hand, already talking about Tahoe outfits she needed to pack. I stared at the card I made, dumb little card with a brunch time and a printout of the art exhibit logo. I didn't throw it away. I just opened the drawer under the microwave and shoved it in there. I stood there for a while, staring at that drawer like it owed me something. Then I turned off the lights, went to bed alone, and listened to her typing away on her laptop in the living room. Next morning, I woke up with a pit in my stomach. Not anger, just something heavier. Something final. I didn't say anything to her. I didn't need to. The silence said it all. It wasn't just the anniversary. That was just the moment I stopped pretending I didn't see it. I started replaying everything. Like my brain was finally done shielding me. My uncle passed last spring. He was more like a second dad to me. Always called to check in, even after my parents split. The funeral was on a Saturday. I asked Danielle if she'd come with me. She said she was already booked. Hive was hosting some strategy meetup in Monterey. She didn't even ask how it went. Then there was my promotion dinner. I'd finally made senior tech analyst after grinding through 3 years of back-end projects no one cared about. I picked the restaurant, sent her a calendar invite, and she bailed the night before. Hive post-event cocktails. Said it wouldn't look right if she skipped, since she'd helped plan it. Even when my dog, Rocky, had that emergency surgery, she was already committed. Some Hive seminar she helped coordinate. The dog almost died. I was in the vet's parking lot for 3 hours by myself. She sent a "hope it goes okay" text halfway through. Meanwhile, I dropped everything for her. I helped her rehearse for every presentation. I drove her across town in the middle of traffic to interview for a lateral position she wasn't even excited about. I stayed up till 2 in the morning helping her design a personal website she barely used, because she didn't like how the firm's profile page cropped her headshot. But sure, I was the selfish one. The night it snapped for real, she asked me if I could cook for a Hive afterparty. Not host it, not attend it. Just make the food and keep things flowing while they networked in our living room. I said yeah, fine. I grilled, I plated, I even stayed sober so I could clean up after. That's when it happened. She clinked her glass, called for attention, and said, "This is Mark, my boyfriend. He cooks." That's it. That was my title. Not the guy who built her resume from scratch or helped her get her foot in the door at her current firm. Just the boyfriend who cooks. Her coworkers laughed. I smiled because I had to. Later that night, after they left, I asked her straight up, "Is that what I am now? The guy who grills while you climb?" She looked at me, annoyed. "Why are you being so sensitive?" "I'm not being sensitive. I'm asking if I matter in this equation, or if I'm just a prop." She rolled her eyes. "Mark, don't start. You're acting threatened by a successful woman." There it was again. Like clockwork. That same script. Anytime I spoke up, it became some gender war. Like I was trying to hold her back. "No," I said, voice low. "I'm acting like someone who's tired of being treated like an Uber driver with a skillet." She shook her head and walked out of the room. I sat on the couch, staring at the spot where her friends had been 2 hours earlier. Wine glasses still half full. A Hive-branded notepad left behind on the coffee table like a souvenir. Next morning, I didn't wait. I opened Zillow before I even brushed my teeth. Studio apartments. 1 bedrooms. Anything without a shared calendar. By lunch, I'd booked 3 viewings for the next day. That night, I didn't say anything when she came home late. Just nodded and went back to whatever show was on. I wasn't angry anymore. Just done waiting for her to see me. That weekend, she flew out to San Diego for some Hive regional innovation tour. 3 cities in 4 days. Panels, dinners, whatever. I used the silence to move. I'd already applied for a 1-bedroom over in East Sac. Older building, street parking, but clean and quiet. I got the approval email that Friday. Called in a favor, borrowed my buddy Jason's truck, and started packing right away. She didn't notice the missing books or the echo in the bedroom. Her notifications were louder than I was. By Sunday night, half my stuff was gone. I waited until the last load to write the letter. Just a page. No drama. I told her I wasn't angry, just done. I said I felt like a side character in a movie where her career was the only plot that mattered. That it wasn't one big thing. It was the 100 times I'd been rescheduled, dismissed, or reduced to someone who just cooks. I folded it in half and left it on the kitchen counter under the salt shaker. She always noticed when the salt was out of place. Tuesday afternoon, I was boxing up the last of my chargers and tech gear when I heard the front door. Keys jingled, then stopped. Long pause. "Mark," she called. "Why is the shoe rack gone?" I kept packing. I'd already rehearsed this. She walked in fast, like she'd just realized it was real. "What the hell is going on? Where's the table? Why is the bedroom?" She turned toward me. "Are you seriously doing this while I was out of town?" I didn't stop folding cables. I left a note. She picked it up from the counter, skimmed it, then dropped it. "You're ending this over a networking group?" That line, that exact tone, like I was the unstable one for caring. I looked her straight in the eye. "No, Danielle. I'm ending it because I've spent the last year feeling like a prop in your LinkedIn highlight reel." She blinked. "That's ridiculous. We've built a life together." "No," I said. "I've built around you. You didn't even notice." "That's not fair." "What's not fair is me sitting through your practice pitches, designing your website, cooking for your colleagues, and then being told I'm insecure every time I ask to be prioritized." She folded her arms. "So that's it? You didn't even try to work through it?" I stared at the half-empty bookshelf. "I tried every time you said, maybe next weekend. Every time you skipped my stuff for a Hive event. Every time you made me feel like I didn't matter unless I was making you look better." She shifted, arms tightening. "You're blowing this out of proportion." I snapped the last box shut. "I'm not. I'm just finally seeing it for what it is." She opened her mouth like she had something else to say, but nothing came out. Just a long exhale. "I don't know what you want me to say," she muttered. "I don't need anything else from you," I said, lifting the box. She followed me to the door. "So you're just walking away? Just like that?" I paused. "You walked first. You just didn't notice." Then I stepped outside and let the door close behind me. I didn't make it 2 steps before I heard the door swing open behind me. "You're not just leaving like this," Danielle called out. I turned around, still holding the box. "I already did." She walked out onto the front step, barefoot, like the whole thing had blindsided her. "Jesus, Mark. You're seriously overreacting." I set the box in the truck bed. "No, I'm reacting. Period. For once." She crossed her arms. "You're insecure. That's what this is. You couldn't handle me having something that wasn't about you." I laughed, loud and bitter. "You think this was about control? I just wanted to matter." "You do matter," she snapped. "But I'm building something real. And you're bailing on me because it doesn't revolve around your feelings." "My feelings," I said. "You skipped my uncle's funeral. You didn't show up when my dog was in surgery. You blew off our anniversary without even blinking. But yeah, sure, let's talk about my feelings." She flinched, but recovered quick. "I had commitments. I don't get to pick and choose like you do." "I didn't pick and choose, Danielle. I dropped everything for you every damn time." She rolled her eyes. "That's your choice." "Yeah," I said. And I finally made a different one. We stood in silence for a second, the kind of silence that didn't feel like peace, just static between 2 people who couldn't hear each other anymore. "I just don't get it," she said, softer now. "You said we were partners." "We were," I said. But I was the only one acting like it. She looked at me like she didn't recognize me anymore. You're sabotaging everything I've worked for. That was it. That line. No, I said. You already did that. I just stopped helping you ignore it. She shook her head, like I wasn't listening. Do you remember when we stayed up till 3 building my slide deck for the Hive rollout? You made popcorn and played music, and we crushed it together. That was us, Mark. That was real. That was me helping you win, I said. Not us winning together. And the weekend retreat in Big Sur? The one where we stayed an extra day just to hike? You said that was one of your favorite weekends ever. You mean the one you only extended because your mentor canceled last minute? She bit her lip. What about your birthday last year? I took you to that steakhouse you love. With your Hive sponsor and her fiancé sitting at the next table. That wasn't a date. That was a networking dinner with a side of cake. She opened her mouth, then stopped. The list in her head ran dry. Everything she tried to name, every memory she held up like proof we were solid, it all traced back to Hive. Even when she was trying to fight for us, she couldn't separate me from her professional timeline. I'm not the enemy, Danielle, I said. But you've made me feel like one every time I asked for more than leftovers. She looked down. You never said it like this. I shouldn't have had to, I said. That's the problem. I pulled the keys out of my pocket, the spare set to the front door, and set them down on the hood of the truck. Her eyes followed them, but her feet didn't move. I'm done, I said. Her voice cracked, barely above a whisper. Mark. I shook my head. You had 2 years to show me I mattered. I'm not giving you a third. She didn't reach for me, didn't ask me to stay, just stood there on the front step, watching me climb in and close the door. I didn't even get a full weekend of peace. First came the text, someone named Greg. Said he was a team lead on Hive's strategic growth pod. I'd never met him. He opened with, hey man, heard about what's going on. Danielle's going through a tough patch. Maybe don't walk away right now? I blocked the number. Saturday morning, I got a LinkedIn DM from her actual boss. Not some junior flunky, the senior VP with the headshot and everything. Hi Mark. Danielle's in a difficult headspace. This is a high-pressure quarter for her. I'd appreciate if you could give her some space to stabilize. We all make emotional choices. Maybe give her a chance to recalibrate? He sent a smiley face at the end, like I was a toddler throwing a tantrum. I didn't respond, just deleted the message and turned off notifications. But it kept coming. Sunday morning, I opened my Gmail and saw an actual email from her mentee, subject line. This could hurt Danielle's trajectory. I didn't recognize the name at first, thought it was spam. Then I read it. Hi Mark, I don't mean to intrude, but Danielle's really distracted this week and it's showing in meetings. This quarter is pivotal for her promotion path, and your exit is impacting her ability to stay focused. Please reconsider your timing. She really believed in what you two were building. Believed in what? Her brand? I stared at the screen for a full minute before closing my laptop and walking out for air. Took a full lap around the block. Even stopped at the corner store just to not be in my apartment. When I got back, I had another message. This time, from someone I had met once. Her mentor, Julie. 40-something, sharp haircut, always wore block heels even on weekends. Hope you're proud of this distraction. Some of us are actually trying to create opportunities for women, not tear them down because of hurt feelings. That was it. No greeting. No sign-off. Just a guilt grenade tossed into my inbox like I was supposed to absorb the damage and apologize for bleeding. I called Jason that night, told him the whole mess. He told me to lay low and block everyone. Said I dodged a corporate cult. I believed him. But the real tipping point came Monday. I was just getting back from the gym, earbuds still in, when I saw them outside my building. Danielle, plus 3 of her Hive buddies. 2 in slacks and heels. 1 with a branded Hive tote bag slung over her shoulder. Danielle stepped forward like she was about to pitch a product. We just want to talk, she said. We think there's a path forward here. I didn't say a word. Just walked past them and into the lobby. They tried to follow. One of the women held the door with her foot. I looked at the front desk guy and said, you need to call security. They're not here for me. 10 minutes later, building security walked them out, politely, but firmly. Danielle didn't look at me once on the way out. They stood across the street for a while after that, just talking, like they were debriefing a failed mission. I watched from my window. That was the first time I realized none of this was about love for her. It was about control, optics, narrative. Like she'd recruited an army just to clean up the image she couldn't manage on her own anymore. I didn't hear from her after that. Not directly, anyway. After that stunt in front of my building, I went full no contact. Deleted every Hive number I'd never saved. Blocked Danielle's email. Unfollowed everyone connected to her on socials. It felt weird at first, like I was gutting something. Not just her, but a whole routine I didn't even realize I'd been trapped in. Then I started breathing again. I hit the gym 6 days a week. Nothing complicated, just iron, sweat, and silence. The kind of silence that didn't ask anything from me. I texted people I hadn't talked to in forever. Old college friends, guys from work, even my cousin Ryan who used to crash on my couch before he moved to Denver. People who didn't need a shared Google Calendar to hang out. Started going to events just because they sounded fun, comedy nights, food truck meetups, even a trivia night where I absolutely bombed. Didn't matter. Nobody cared who I was dating or what my 5-year track looked like. They were just there. Same as me. That's when things got interesting. One night, I ran into Tasha, a mutual friend from way back. She wasn't Hive, but she used to go to their public mixers for networking. She cornered me at a taco stand. "Hey, haven't seen you since the Hive summer kickoff like 2 years ago," she said. I gave a polite smile. "Yeah, I'm retired from that circuit." She laughed. "Honestly, same. It's kind of falling apart." That caught my attention. "What do you mean? You didn't hear?" "Sarah, you remember, the marketing girl with the blazer obsession, she took a job in Seattle. Quiet exit. Didn't even tell Danielle until after her first week there." "Seriously?" Tasha nodded. "Yup. And Elise, the one who's always leading panels? She's engaged now. Fiancé works out of state. She's been skipping meetings, pushing back on all the extra optional but not optional stuff." I blinked. "And Danielle?" Tasha rolled her eyes. "Losing it. Telling anyone who'll listen they're being ungrateful. Said, after everything I've built for them, they're just walking away. Like she owns people now." That sounded familiar. Tasha kept going. She even sent out this long-ass email trying to realign priorities. You could hear the panic through the screen. I just shook my head. It was the same script she ran on me, word for word. Guilt, control, then the whole martyr routine when people stopped dancing to her tempo. "You okay?" Tasha asked. "Yeah," I said. "Better than I've been in a long time." She smiled. "Good. You look like you finally exhaled." I walked home that night thinking about what it meant to build something. Danielle said it so much I'd stopped hearing the words. But now I was starting to see it. Maybe the whole Hive thing wasn't about growth. Maybe it was just about control. Her name stamped on everything. Her face at the front of the deck. Her version of success becoming law for everyone around her. And now that law was breaking. Not because of me, because people were waking up, wanting real lives. Not just bullet points on someone else's legacy. I didn't feel sorry for her. I didn't feel angry either. I just felt done. A few weeks later, I got a message from Elise, the engaged one from Danielle's Hive group. It was short. "You were right." Didn't even have to ask what she meant. Word had already spread. Apparently, Danielle got into it with Hive leadership during one of their planning calls. Something about internal structure, too much centralization, not enough recognition for her regional contributions. They didn't take it well. Suddenly, she wasn't on the leadership Slack channels. Her access got limited. The phrase people started whispering around was no longer aligned with core values. Basically corporate speak for, "We're done with her." She didn't take it quietly. Tried to hold a Hive reunion dinner at some bougie wine bar downtown. Sent out a fancy invite with custom graphics and a quote about loyalty. Only 2 people showed. One left before dessert. Then I started hearing the nickname. Pulling a Mark. She started saying it during Zooms and inside chats. Anyone who quit, flaked, or pushed back on her was pulling a Mark. Like I was some cautionary tale. Like my name had become her shorthand for betrayal. I didn't care. Honestly, it made me laugh. I was on a date when I first heard about it. Jenna told me. Yeah, Jenna. We met at a friend's barbecue. She brought a homemade potato salad and 0 business cards. Had a sarcastic streak and a no bullshit vibe I felt immediately. She asked me what I did for work. I told her. She nodded and said, "Cool. Not everything has to be your personality." That was the exact moment I knew she was different. We'd been seeing each other for a couple months now. Nothing complicated. No strategy meetings. No curated selfies. Just 2 people who liked sitting on the couch eating takeout and watching trash TV. One night she looked over and said, "You always seem calm. Like you're actually where you want to be." I didn't even know what to say to that at first. Because yeah, I was. There wasn't this constant pressure to be useful all the time. I wasn't scheduling dinner around someone else's Zoom recap. I wasn't measuring my worth and how well I supported another person's brand. I was just showing up and being seen. Jenna never once made me feel like I had to earn a seat at the table. I wasn't an accessory. I was just a person with my own voice, my own space, and finally, a real connection. It felt steady. That's the only word I keep coming back to. No performance. No checklist. No hierarchy. Just peace. We were finishing dessert. Jenna had ordered some chocolate tart that she kept calling obnoxiously perfect when I spotted her. Danielle, across the room, alone, tucked into a corner booth with one hand on a half-empty glass of wine and the other just sitting limp on the table. No laptop. No folders. No hive crew orbiting her like moons around a planet. Just her. She looked up, and our eyes met. I didn't flinch. Didn't smile either. Just gave a small nod like, yeah, I see you. She sat up a little straighter. Adjusted her blazer like muscle memory kicked in. Always prepared for optics, even now. I leaned toward Jenna. Ready to head out? She wiped her mouth and nodded. Let's roll. We paid, stood, and walked past Danielle's booth like any other couple leaving dinner. I almost made it to the door. Mark, she said behind me, quiet but firm. I turned. She stood up, holding her wine glass like a prop she didn't know what to do with. I've been meaning to talk to you, she said. Jenna stepped back without a word, giving us space, but not too much. She stayed close, eyes on me. Danielle looked unsure for the first time in forever. I've been reevaluating some things, she started. Priorities, I guess. I didn't say anything. Just waited. She swallowed hard. You were right. About needing balance. About not steamrolling the people who actually care. Still, I said nothing. She shifted her weight. My world's gotten quieter lately. Some of it not by choice, but it's forced me to see what I've been doing. I looked her in the eyes. Not angry. Just present. I'm not here to ask for anything, she added quickly. No second chances. I just thought you should know. I get it now. That was the first honest thing I'd heard from her in over a year. I nodded. Thanks for saying that. She exhaled. I didn't back then, but I do now. I didn't offer more. No handshake. No hug. No awkward sympathy. Take care of yourself, Danielle. Then I turned and walked out. Jenna didn't ask questions. Didn't need to. She just smiled and grabbed my hand like she'd been holding it all along. We didn't talk about it in the car. Just drove home with the windows cracked and music low. 2 days later, I got a text from Elise, short, again. She left the hive. Fully out. Says she's rebuilding outside the system. Whatever that meant. I stared at the message for a second, then just locked my phone and tossed it onto the couch. I wasn't angry anymore. Not smug. Just done. I really did wish her well. I hope she finds whatever it is she's looking for. But I wasn't part of that equation anymore. I wasn't her audience. That weekend, Jenna and I booked a cabin up near Tahoe. Not the kind Danielle used for retreats. No whiteboards or agenda slides. Just a quiet place with a wood stove and a hot tub and a fridge we stuffed with snacks we actually liked. No calendar invites. No updates. No status checks. We cooked lazy breakfasts and sat on the deck reading dumb magazines and laughing at old vines. We didn't post anything. We didn't plan content. We just existed. Together. At one point, Jenna looked at me while we were making grilled cheese and said, "You know what's nice? Not having to perform." I nodded. Yeah. I was tired of auditioning for my own relationship. She smiled and went back to buttering the bread. Later that night, we sat outside wrapped in one big blanket, watching the steam rise off the hot tub, and it hit me. This wasn't escape. This wasn't me running from something toxic. This was me stepping into something that didn't need fixing. I didn't have to beg to matter. I didn't need to fight to be visible. I was seen. And for the first time in years, that was enough. Was Danielle genuinely changing, or just trying to save face? Drop your take in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe.